Good evening. This is Rudy Giuliani, and this is the Rudy Giuliani Show on Lindell TV, on X, and Rumble, and who knows where else.
Who knows?
We'll figure all that out as we move along. So the left is doing what the left has been doing to Trump for sure. Oh my goodness! Since he came down that escalator. So we're taking this. Before we realized that that the Russian collusion story was not only false, but paid for by Hillary and other Democrats. And I always knew it was false, only because I was in a particularly unusual position of being with him for 5 straight months. And it would have been inconceivable that that kind of conspiracy at the level they were talking about could have taken place. And not only me, but the others wouldn't have known about it. Given the fact that, as you can see, President Trump is a very open kind of person. He doesn't hide a lot of things. It would have been, I believe, impossible for him to have done that without not just me, but Steve Bannon or Steve Miller or Jared, or to know about it. So when I first heard about it, I knew it was a lie and I knew it was a setup. But then what happened was it kept getting exaggerated. It wasn't just that the Russians were trying to help him get elected. Remember the Steele dossier? He was a Russian agent for either 10 or 20 years. I mean, you didn't realize that was totally untrue? That's ridiculous. That he urinated on some prostitute's bed. Did you know that he's had at various times in his life, he's been a germaphobe? Hardly consistent with a germaphobe. And an absurd allegation. Just one thing after another. And then when Comey did his sworn affidavit, in which in a Pfizer application, you have to tell the truth because it's a one-sided obligation. And Comey said that that it was verified. And then he just switched around a few months later and told Trump this was all unverified information. However, he had sworn under penalty of perjury that it was. And then it turns out that the guy that they're using is an FBI skunk who they had to throw out for lying, although they offered him $1 million if he would continue to cooperate against Trump. I mean, when you heard all these facts, you realized that this was something that was being exaggerated tremendously. It was the end of the world, and that it was filled with one lie after another, and then some gross exaggerations. Okay, so then we go to the quid pro quo story. That one fizzles out, turns out to be untrue. They pay no price for it. I mean, that's extraordinary. All the people who are now exaggerating this chat thing as if it's actually something really significant are the same people that got a Pulitzer Prize for printing for 5 years a completely false story. How do you get a Pulitzer Prize and it turns out that you were either lying or duped on the major story of the year? Unless the Pulitzer is a left-wing piece of crap, which it is. And that a lot of our society is warped in a left direction and willing to tolerate any group of lies, no matter how far-fetched and no matter how personally damaging to people. Well, that's the way it is. And then we got to the Russian hard drive. The Russian hard drive. The hard drive was from Delaware, not from Russia. The hard drive was clearly, without any doubt, Hunter Biden's. When I got it, I verified it. I did not know it had already been verified numerous times by the FBI, and that two very high government officials knew it was completely true. That'd be Bill Barr and I even can't say his name. The thing that was running the FBI. They knew it was true. Well, I got it in October, late September, early October. They had verified it before the turn of the year, back around December of 2019. Yet they let 51 of their colleagues, all the preeminent members of the intelligence community, the people who probably had established the worst record on intelligence in the history of America. This is the Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction crowd. They put out this very pious, very, very authoritative statement, 51 of them, that the hard drive, which they had never seen, never bothered to question me about, had no idea really what the hell it was, but they would sign anything Biden put in front of them, even though it would ruin their reputation, because really they didn't have reputations. Their reputation was created by the phony left-wing press. So they signed that it had earmarks of Russian collusion, when they never bothered to check if it did. It didn't. And the big giveaway, of course, was it was just a general blunderbuss letter in which they gave not a single example of an earmark of Russian collusion. And then that was supported by the Atlantic, the one trying to crucify Trump now. That was supported by all the newspapers that should have been disgraced by having run the false story about Russian collusion. Well, I can go on and on. We could take January 6th. January 6th started as whatever it was. I knew the night of January 6th that it was dramatically exaggerated because I was brought a film by Sullivan that nobody had seen at that point. And I was brought it by two people that have very, very good knowledge of Antifa. And they pointed out the number of people from Antifa that were spurring the people on. And then when they showed me the Ashley Babbitt murder, I immediately was shocked to see it, because it had all the earmarks of a first-degree murder, including the fact that if the cop had panicked, which he didn't say he did, by the way, and nor did he ever testify that he was in fear of his life, which is the only defense a cop has in a situation like that. The cop killed the person furthest away from him, a woman, rather than the two men who had weapons. And Sullivan happened to know exactly where to film the shot. And then January 6th went from an interruption of a proceeding to the worst crime in the history of America. It became worse than Pearl Harbor, worse than September 11, worse than the Civil War. Well, I don't want to belabor it, because I will at some point, maybe in a podcast, show you all of this, or a book, but how it progressed. But they're doing it again to you. And they're doing it with this chat thing. All of a sudden, what is an incident that in the big scheme of things would be cast aside as no harm, no foul, but a good learning experience. You know, thank God no one was hurt. Thank God it had no consequence. Mr. Walz has quite readily admitted that he's not going to do it again. It was a mistake. You can understand why the mistake was made if you understand signal and the way in which these things take place. But now they're doing the best they can. I heard a hysterical left-wing goon, funny-looking man. I don't know who it is, but they're all funny-looking. I don't know why that is. He said, actually, this was the worst security breach in the history of America, since it did not lead to the death of any American or any damage to the United States, since it led to a great victory, actually. Maybe you need more mistakes like this, and not, oh my goodness, like the right thing, like attacking Iraq for weapons of mass destruction that never existed. You think maybe that was a little more serious a mistake that all of the Biden supplicants and ass lickers agreed to? Well, we have Kara Castronova on the phone with us. I talked to Kara earlier. She had a very busy day at the White House today, and so why don't you bring us up to date, Kara? It was a pretty busy day today, huh?
It was. Hey, Mr. Mayor, I hope you're doing well. And yes, today there was a press briefing here at the White House. Most of the journalists were fixated on the Signal chat and asking questions about that. But I asked a question. It's up on X if you guys want to check that out, as well as on Lindell TV, where I asked the press secretary about the election integrity executive order, which I think is so important to so many Americans.
Yes.
People want fair elections. And I know you do. And you fought so hard for that, Mr. Mayor. And
Hmm?
really, almost died on a hill, then was resurrected like so many of us when President Trump came back into office. Those of us who just wanted fair and free elections, who were exercising our right as journalists in the year 2020, the shady election year of 2020, a lot of people call it, to ask questions. That's our job. Our job is to check and balance the government. And we were asking so many questions. We were shadow banned, as you know. We were persecuted, prosecuted, deleted from social media accounts, and everything else like that. So I'm really happy that here at this White House, we're actually able to ask questions as a free press and question still that election that a lot of people have suspicion on, including the president himself, who obviously thinks it's important to issue this executive order and ask Congress to hopefully, take up this fight as well, asking for free elections, fair elections, elections where people have to prove they're actual citizens of this country to vote. Can you imagine that? As well as other things like there's no foreign interference in elections, and hopefully move one day to paper ballots, as Mike Lindell talks about so much, and same day voting. So all of these things are on the president's agenda. They're all there in the executive order. And that really got overshadowed, I think, by this Signal chat stuff that's going on with the rest of the media. So I really wanted to refocus attention on that very important executive order.
Yeah, well, that'll have much more long-term impact on the country. The reality is the chat has had no effect on anything.
Correct.
Thank goodness, despite, as they say, admit a mistake, the mistake had no consequence, and the mission went ahead brilliantly and worked brilliantly. You couldn't ask for anything more from the mission. I mean, there are times, as you know, we've all done it in our life, where you make a mistake and you don't suffer the consequence of it. You're lucky; it just doesn't. And usually, those mistakes we brush aside and we treat them as a learning experience, but we don't torture ourselves over them or torture somebody else over them. I mean, we got plenty of mistakes in the last administration where lots of people died,
Right.
more than I think in any administration in history. So it's really quite hypocritical for them to become getting like hysterical baboons over this.
Right. Well, the mainstream
So
media is known for making all these inaccurate, obvious reporting, like Caroline mentioned today, the war on terror with the fake weapons of mass destruction that President Trump has called out. All of these very journalists, including the one that reported for the Signal from the Atlantic, was the one who was really spreading those lies. So she pointed that out, and everybody, like you said, has inaccuracies, but nobody like the mainstream media with their inaccuracies. And today they were just parroting each other, question after question after question, just basically asking the same question as the journalists before that Caroline had already answered. So that was frustrating for me being here, as a part of the alternate media, and actual, in my opinion, the
yeah,
media that wants to tell the truth when we have other questions to ask and they can continue to beat on a dead horse.
how do you feel sitting there? So you have the whole situation in Russia and Ukraine up in the air, right? They've agreed to this ceasefire, but they're fighting over the details, and they're still fighting. So you've got to get those details fixed so you can stop the fighting. That seems to be a lot more important than what happened a couple of weeks ago that didn't harm anything. Um, you've got the situation in Israel where hey, how about the fact that we're attacking the Houthis? Nobody ever did that before. We Biden allowed Americans to get killed, never did anything to them, and finally Trump has hit them back really hard. Nobody reporting about how effective that's been.
No, that's absolutely true.
Are there reporters there who feel the way you and I do, that of course they should ask questions about this, but that should be one or two questions, and then we have 10 other subjects, many of which are more important.
Right. Right. No, there's some good reporters here for sure. This White House has been really open about letting people in that aren't just parroting each other. So there are some pretty decent reporters here as well. And, we would like a chance to obviously ask questions. And when you have the, media literally repeating themselves and repeating themselves and repeating themselves, the same question, down the line, next, same question. Like I said, it's frustrating because we would like to be able to ask questions that are significant too, and that we feel are important, that the American public wants to hear. They don't want to hear journalists repeat themselves constantly. It's frustrating, and I think it's just absurd. So hopefully that trend changes and journalists are actually able to come up with their own questions, not ones that their networks are feeding them.
The fact that they've included independent journalists like you and your colleagues actually is very good, because this happened before, but it was never focused on. So this may in fact have an impact in being able to change it. So congratulations. And we'll play the question a little bit later. People look forward to it, and maybe Ted will also play some of the freaky questions they keep repeating. I love when the press act like monkeys in a cage. They really are. They do very good imitation of monkeys, except the monkeys generally ask different questions.
Right.
Thank you, Karen.
Today was a great event today, Mr. Mayor.
Celebrating
women. Women's History Month. President Trump did an event, and he honored a lot of the women that are working for him right now and in Congress, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's great. Obviously honoring the press secretary, who's the youngest one in history.
Women working?
A lot. He actually has the most women.
You don't get when you read the New York Times.
The most women in any Republican administration, so that's definitely a plus. So that was a nice event just to see all the women in the administration and in Congress being honored that have worked so hard and that are really just part of this team that's fighting right now in this White House. So that was nice to be a part of that. I was there in the room, and there were women from Moms of Liberty, just different women and female organizations from around the country were in attendance, and President Trump just really honored them. And there was a really funny clip, and people should look it up on X, where he said he's the fertility president. I don't know if you saw that. It was actually funny. It was a slip up because, he's fighting for women's in vitro and to have insurance companies cover that, which is so important because so many women unfortunately have fertility issues in this country. A lot of it due to pharmaceutical drugs and obviously the bad, horrific things that are in the food and the water that Robert Kennedy Jr. has really called out. But he is fighting for women's fertility rights, and he called himself the fertility president, and the room just cracked up laughing. Everybody thought it was really funny.
He's got a bunch of kids, right? He's backed it up with what a pretty for nowadays a pretty decent sized family, right?
Yeah, he has. So hopefully he'll make America fertile again, I guess. That's like what came across, but it was a nice event.
Make America fertile.
Mafa.
Mafa, very good. We're gonna have to get to his hat maker and get one of those.
Right.
That's fabulous. Thank you very, very much, Kara.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Have a great night.
As usual. Boy, she really is good. She finds the serious ones and the funny ones, and we got to now. Our job now is to. She gave us some good hints there, Ted.
Yeah.
Let's play where he says he's Mr. Fertility. He's the president of fertility, or the fertility president. Let's play the press acting like baboons, just repeating the same ridiculous question where they're in now. You could actually, Ted, we should really do a short little book about how these incidents going back to Russian collusion, they fit a pattern.
Right.
First, you lie.
Right.
Then you exaggerate and you don't tell the whole thing. And so you make it seem like it's different than it actually is. Then you let out some more facts that add to the lie, but then you start making very, very blunderbuss comments like, this is worse than September 11th. This is worse than Pearl Harbor. Or this is the worst security breach in the history of the United States of America. Of course, the other ones, all people died and all those other ones. How can it be the worst security breach when
you had a good one involving our supreme allied commander during World War II?
Yeah, well, one could say September 11th, right? That was a security
Unfortunately,
breach, right? I mean,
you're right.
Nobody caught up with these people. Was it understandable? I mean, some people say yes, some people say no.
But I think Butler was worse than this. Butler, the president got shot in the
of course
security breaches.
Mistake.
No,
Butler
someone was harmed.
I tell people if they want to analyze Butler, tell me what went right. Tell me one thing the Secret Service did right at Butler.
Bingo.
I don't know if it was a setup or not, but they sure as hell made it look that way. They did a really good job of making it look like they were trying to get him killed.
So this hasn't been the largest security breach in the past year.
Close. It's not even close. It's not the security breach of no consequence. There are about 50 million of them on the drawing room floor. It's like, and you've all done it. You've all done it. You know this. You know you've made a mistake and escaped consequences for it. Maybe you made a wrong turn, and luckily, just at the last minute, you swerved away and you said, "Oh my God, that was a mistake. I shouldn't have done that." Or, I mean, if you haven't made a mistake, I want to meet you, because the only person I ever thought didn't make a mistake was Jesus Christ. I'd like to meet you if you didn't make a mistake. I guess you're probably a Democrat liberal, because they never make mistakes. They just commit serious crimes and treasonous acts against the United States of America because they hate America. So we're going to take a short break on that rather modest thought, and we'll be right back.
That was good.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets.
I'm interrupting this commercial to do something I've never done before. Get 2 MyPillows absolutely free on orders of $100 or more. I can't do this forever, so get on board with this great sale today. Our best-selling 6-piece bath towel sets or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Our famous standard MyPillows only $14.98. Queens $18.98. King size only $1 more. Body pillows $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color. So go to MyPillow.com or call that number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And when you spend $100 or more, get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory, or it's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's Coffee.
You all know I stand by the truth. And if I put my name on something, I truly believe in it. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce you to something I'm incredibly proud of.
my own brand of organic specialty coffee, Rudy Coffee. Believe me when I say it's the best coffee you'll ever try. It's smooth, rich, chocolatey, and gentle on your stomach. It's so good, I even recommend drinking it black. It comes in 3 varieties, including what I promise is the best decaf you'll ever have. You can order now by scanning the QR code on your screen or by visiting rudy.coffee. By supporting Rudy Coffee, you're not just treating yourself to exceptional coffee, you're also supporting our cause, the cause of truth, justice, and American democracy. You'll also be supporting the Call to Action nonprofit, which is devoted to helping veterans and first responders. So you can make a difference and taste the difference by ordering today at rudy.coffee.
Welcome back to the Rudy Giuliani Show on Lindell TV and other very, very good and excellent social networks and stations who are smart enough to cover us and actually are not afraid of the truth and of and are dedicated as we are to the First Amendment, allowing for free speech. So the appeals court with that stupid Judge Millett, who thinks that she can be is worried that she's going to be thrown out of the country because I guess she has some doubt about her citizenship. And she asked the absolutely asinine question yesterday. Well, you all can throw me out of the country just by saying I'm Trinidad and I couldn't defend myself. The answer to which should have been, Judge, I hate to ask you this question, but aren't you a citizen? I mean, to be a judge, you have to be a citizen, right? So, I mean, there are 1 or 2 possibilities here, Judge. You're not a citizen, and you better get the hell off this case. Or you are a citizen, and you don't realize the major issue in this case. You see, this person, unlike you, was not a citizen, and these people were suspected and proven with many, many arrests to be murderers, rapists, scoundrels of various kinds. I assume you don't have too many rape convictions, huh? Of course, the Democrat and the Bush person voted against, and the Republican voted for this. The number of Democrat judges who have issued these injunctions now, it's in the 90%. So when John Roberts very piously says there are really no Trump judges and Obama judges and Biden judges and Bush judges, he either is lying or he doesn't know what he's talking about. I mean, yeah, try to create a fiction about the judiciary if you want, but Jesus, I mean, there's not even, you don't even have to predict. I've been in front of a couple of Democrat judges that they were a disgrace. One of the last ones I was in front of at the end of my testimony and at the end of the argument, without taking a break, the judge issued his opinion. He had written it before I testified, or before my lawyer argued, or before we presented evidence. And of course, it was very anti-me. This is the guy who originally wouldn't allow me to go to the Trump inauguration. I mean, they're petty little people, as well as complete antithesis of what an American judge should be. And there are a lot of them, and they are now. Their last outing was to put innocent people in jail and to take your property away from you. I tried to plead to keep my grandfather's watch, and I was told that he had taken it away. He'd taken away a grandfather's watch from some poor little Hispanic man, so he was going to take it from me. And at that time I did keep my mouth shut, but I wanted to say, "What the hell did you take it away from the Hispanic man for? What are you, some kind of a mean creep? You don't have to take a watch away. Under the bankruptcy laws, you're entitled to keep one watch. I wasn't. You're entitled to keep one car. I wasn't, because I'm not an American. I'm a Trump person who has considerably less rights than an illegal alien. And they proved that in this 2-to-1 decision, which basically is saying to the President of the United States, bring back all the murderers, rapists, child molesters, drug dealers, and terrorists you just got rid of. All of whom I think, or almost all of whom, were members of the most violent gang in South America, Tren de Aragua. They have already committed massive crimes in the United States, horrendous crimes in the United States. Some of them self-deported the other day, and they went back with the thanks of the vicious, murderous communist government of Venezuela, because that's where they fit. So I don't know. I don't know where these judges, how they put their, where their heads are. They're certainly not. They're certainly not on straight. So that will have to go to the Supreme Court now. Do you realize if they succeed with this other version of lawfare and making up the law, we'd have to have about 5 million hearings. It's about the number that are going to have to be excluded. It could be more. The total number is somewhere between 15 and 20 million. And we're assuming you'd work on the worst cases. And that's about 4 or 5 million. We'll be doing it for years. And it would be, then also Judge Naomi Reese Buchwald, who was way back a colleague of mine, decided that the administration cannot throw a non-citizen out of the country, even though they participated in aiding and abetting a terrorist group. Only a judge can decide that. Where in the Constitution were judges given the right to decide on what's necessary for the defense of the United States, for the protection of the United States? What's the right balance with regard to immigration and foreign policy? None of those powers are committed to the court. Those powers exist within the president, and the review of it is with the Congress. This would have been something where a fair, wise, and well-educated judge would see that this was a political question that has been consigned by the Constitution to the 2 other branches of government, and it would have stayed out of it and said it's up to the president and the Congress to work this out. That's known as judicial restraint. And it's the only thing that you have to have in a constitutional republic, because if you don't have judicial restraint, you have judicial activism, which becomes authoritarianism, which is what we have and what these Democrat judges are. How is it that 92% of them are the ones who are issuing the injunctions against Trump? This isn't a party operation. This is like, I thought of another one for a book. It started with Russian collusion. But how about on election day? Or when I got there the day after election, I saw it personally. And I found out that in Philadelphia, they wouldn't allow Republicans to inspect any of the absentee ballots or touch any of the paper, and put them behind guardrails that you use for cows, at least a football field away from where they could observe the ballots to see if they were valid. And then I found out that the same thing was done in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And then I found out and saw pictures of it being done in Detroit. And then I found out and saw pictures of it being done in Milwaukee. And then I saw pictures of it being done in Atlanta. So I said to myself, isn't that interesting? Every one of those Democratic crooked bosses in those very crooked Democratic cities just independently woke up that morning and said, we got to go get pens like you put cows in. And for the first time in history, we're going to rule that the other party can't look at the paper. Even though our practice from time immemorial has been, here's the ballot, I'm the election official, I look at the ballot, or actually I look at the envelope with the signature on it, and then I look at the facsimile, and I make a determination. And then I show it to the Republican or the Democrat, and they look at it and they say, or I object to this one. You take it and you put it in a special box that's going to get reviewed now much more carefully by people who are handwriting experts. That wasn't done, to my knowledge, in Philadelphia with a Republican president ever at all. And none of the judges cared about that. I don't even know if we honestly have a full contingent of judges anymore. If the Democratic Party wants it, they get it. Because I guess the judges don't get it unless they do what the Democratic Party wants. They have ruined, among other things, our judicial system, and it has to be brought back. So Judge Rice, Buchwald today, allowed Yun So Chung to be released, and also enjoined his deportation. So we can have now yet another big, strong supporter of killing Jews, destroying America, and of Hamas in the United States. And even though they come from a foreign country, we have to tolerate it. So the Secretary of State had revoked her green card, but Judge Buchwald decided that she was really the Secretary of State and gave it back. This is judicial dictatorship in order to make us a absurd, very hard left authoritarian government. Right now, under the rule of the courts, not under the rule of the president, even though the people have spoken. A lot of talk about Signal, and today a lot of new disclosure, well, not really new disclosures. The stuff they hid yesterday, they put some of it out today, and we've gone through it.
Right. And I believe we have the Jeffrey Goldberg had released additional chat messages today, after many have questioned what exactly Mr. Goldberg has, and the reason that he's questioned is because he's known to have lied in the past in an effort to damage President Trump.
Yeah, he's a congenital liar. Yeah. And what did they say, Ted? Do you want to summarize them for us?
Sure. So, of course, after this story first broke earlier this week, many people started to question Jeffrey Goldberg, of course, reporter for The Atlantic, what he actually had. And so after a couple of days here, Jeffrey Goldberg published the complete Signal chat transcript. That included some new images, which we'll put up on the screen now. And again, this group, which National Security Advisor Michael Waltz has said, right, that he put together. It's known as the Houthi PC small group. It included a few dozen members, including National Security Advisor Michael Waltz, Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, Tulsi Gabbard, Scott Bessent, Pete Hegseth. So some very senior members.
And it included Goldberg
Yeah.
without anyone knowing.
Right. And so, but again, so Goldberg and the left and Democrats, Mayor, are attempting to paint this as though classified information was revealed, which both DNI Gabbard and CIA Director Ratcliffe have strongly denied. Additionally, The Atlantic itself has recharacterized their story from, they were giving out war plans to attack plans. And of course, that's very different. One specific, which by the way, you saying attack plans is also misleading because it didn't include specific information such as location. And so the Atlantic
What did
seems
it give away? What kind of information? We get,
Yeah.
people can get a flavor.
So if we can put these images up, what they end up showing, specifically the tweet in question, is from Pete Hegseth, and guys, that might be below the original tweet. But Pete Hegseth provides a team update, and that includes specific timing, right, and weather, and confirmation from CENTCOM that they're a go for the mission launch. And so at this point, let's see if we can get the one from Pete Hegseth here, where it does give some specific timing and information on weapons systems and that we have. But Mayor, you're someone who's had multiple clearances throughout your life. I'd be interested to hear from you, your reaction to this. Further information coming out, but doesn't seem to be too damaging.
My reaction to this is that, of course, it was a mistake, and of course, he should endeavor not to have it happen again. And if there's somebody that doesn't belong on the line, you should have a process in which you don't get confused over initials. And maybe someone other than the participants should have the job of policing it, and therefore making sure that every person on the line is an authorized person, maybe even with a telephone call back. I mean, there have to be certain changes in procedures so this doesn't happen again. The reality is nobody wanted this to happen. It was a mistake, and we luckily escaped any bad consequences as a result of it. But they're acting like it's the end of the world. And it's so patently obvious that they're doing it for effect that it's disgusting. I mean, you just heard America. What's the difference? This turned out with this interruption to be one of America's more successful missions. And we haven't had too many in that part of the world, have we? So this is a desperate attempt to try to slow down the momentum of a president who is doing everything he promised to do and considerably more. And I don't think it's going to work, but we'll have to go through a couple of painful days of their hysterically coming up with all kinds of, crazy, all kinds of crazy things. And unfortunately, let's hope that they will ultimately win back a lot of the crazy people they used to have on their side, because they sure as heck know how to ignite crazy people. When you see, and they also ignite people that like to burn things. Every one of their protests ends up with a burning.
Right.
Every one of ours ends up with no burning. Right. They have a monopoly on violence without any doubt.
Hey, Mayor, we boycott a brand and stop shopping at some stores.
Right.
When they shoot up cars and shoot up the products and destroy property, like you said.
Yeah, but look, we haven't even talked yet about the attacks on Musk, the Musk cars and the Musk vehicles. So I think they're showing themselves off for being the criminal sympathizers that they actually are.
100%.
So the voting order that Kara mentioned is a very, very good one. And these things would have to be carried out by the states or could be the basis for congressional legislation for federal elections. And they really would make our voting system a lot more rigorous and able to sustain some mistakes or things that are overlooked. The ceasefire in the Black Sea, so far it's not a ceasefire. The Russians are seeking concessions. Originally, they wanted all sanctions lifted just for a ceasefire in the Red Sea, and the answer to it was go to hell. If you want that, you're gonna have to do a heck of a lot better than just the Red Sea. So that has led to a stalemate and continued fighting. So they haven't even started their 14-day delay of doing murder. So when we come back, we'll spend some time on how this illegal alien crisis, which is being made that much more complicated by the courts, is going to increasingly, until we turn the corner, it's increasingly going to claim the lives of Americans. So we'll be right back.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, My Pillows, towels, slippers, blankets.
I'm interrupting this commercial to do something I've never done before. Get 2 My Pillows absolutely free on orders of $100 or more. I can't do this forever, so get on board with this great sale today. Our best-selling 6-piece bath towel sets or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Our famous standard My Pillows only $14.98. Queens $18.98. King size only $1 more. Body pillows $29.98. Multi-use My Pillow 2.0s with pillowcase $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bed sheet sets. Any size, any color. So go to mypillow.com or call that number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all My Pillow products. And when you spend $100 or more, get 2 standard My Pillows absolutely free.
You all know I stand by the truth. And if I put my name on something, I truly believe in it. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce you to something I'm incredibly proud of. My own brand of organic specialty coffee, Rudy Coffee. Believe me when I say it's the best coffee you'll ever try. It's smooth, rich, chocolatey, and gentle on your stomach. It's so good, I even recommend drinking it black. It comes in 3 varieties, including what I promise is the best decaf you'll ever have. You can order now by scanning the QR code on your screen or by visiting rudy.coffee. By supporting Rudy Coffee, you're not just treating yourself to exceptional coffee, you're also supporting our cause, the cause of truth, justice, and American democracy. You'll also be supporting the Call to Action nonprofit, which is devoted to helping veterans and first responders, so you can make a difference and taste the difference by ordering today at rudy.coffee. I'm holding it there, right? Like a chalice. Like when the priest holds the chalice at Mass, right? Like that. I don't want to be sacrilegious, and I'm not being. I just thought it looked a little like that. Now, Rudy's Coffee is not of that level. It's not divine or supernatural, but it's damn good. And I'm going to tell you something absolutely straight. No extra salesman crap. I'm not Mike. I'm not like a super salesman like Mike Lindell. They played that commercial. I think they play it because a couple of months ago I told Mike and some of his people that I'm almost embarrassed. Every time I see that commercial, I laugh. I've seen it like 400 times, but every time I see that guy pop out of the medicine cabinet with a cross. I don't know. I lived in apartments a lot of my life. And I think every once in a while you wonder if that's going to happen. And then Mike is just like completely like this is normal. People just pop out of your cabinet. It reminds me kind of a Peter Sellers movie. And even his pillow things when he comes on, I love when in the middle of the commercial he decides to do another discount. Oh, I'm gonna do even better. I'm gonna do even better than that. You don't know what a fabulous guy he is. Just a little on the lighter side, just amazed me. They're selling. People seem to really want these very luxurious trailers now. They just sold one in Montauk Point, just a little beyond the ritzy Southampton and East Hampton and this Hampton and that Hampton and your Hampton and Upper Hampton and Lower Hampton and inside Hampton. They sold one in Montauk Point for $1.2 million. Can you? Yeah, look at it, Ted. I mean, Stephen, look at it. That's a pretty good looking. Let me see. That's a pretty good looking operation there, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's where it's located. Right there, where the red arrow is, along that road that leads right into the town of Montauk Point. But look how close, if you look carefully, I know it's not the best picture, it comes from the Post. You see the ocean is right there. So this mobile home is 1, 2, looks like it's 3 blocks from the ocean and 3 very short blocks.
That is what it looks like. How much do homes normally go for in Montauk? I don't even know the price range.
Well, Montauk used to be much, much less expensive than the Hamptons, but it's getting like here in, like West
Palm Beach.
West Palm Beach has always been much, much less expensive.
Doesn't The Rock? I think The Rock lives in or he has a house in Montauk, I thought.
Oh, Montauk is not inexpensive now at all. It used to be.
Yes.
That's why it's still. I don't know. I'm not great on this, but it used to be considerably less. You wanted to save money, you bought a house in Montauk instead of East Hampton or Southampton. Now you're going to save some, not a lot. And if you go buy a trailer, it's going to cost you $1 million.
Yeah,
$1 million for a trailer. Now this is a big trailer.
And that's a corner lot, it looks like.
So it's not. It is.
Well, it looks like it's like almost like one of those.
It is a walk to the beach,
like the Flatiron lot, kind of. It's like a triangle, right?
Well, it looks more like a house, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then look, it's like 1, 2 blocks from the beach.
Oh, we call that a double wide in the middle of the country.
Yeah,
double wide trailer.
Now. This was in Montauk Shores. It was built it's not new. It was built in 1986. It has 1.5 bathrooms. It went for $1.19 million. The current owner bought it in 2016 for $460,000. Double his money, huh? Not bad, not bad. So there's this whole issue going on as to whether or not the people that Trump sent to El Salvador come from Venezuela and are part of Trinidad. Well, I mean, we just to show you that they're all over that. We gave you the identities of 2 New Yorkers who raped girls yesterday that went out with them, and then a group of other people in Massachusetts where the raping of young girls has become like a problem. So I don't know who you think is on that. I don't know who you think Judge Boasberg wants to bring back, but as usual, he's a Democrat judge. He wants criminals back so they can prowl the streets of in his case, Washington, D.C. Now, a group of them have self-deported. What that means is they deported on their own. And if you recall, right? If you recall, there are ads on TV. One of them is done by Christy Nome, saying if you self-deport, you can admit yourself. So I'm not so sure about that, depending on what you did. But I'm telling you, self-deporting is a lot better than the tender mercies of Mr. Holman, who treats you the way you're supposed to be treated, but somehow they think it's worse than the Nazis. We're treating these poor people worse than the Nazis were treated. And we don't have the foggiest idea how the Nazis were treated. This is all campaign, political, garbage, lying, showing no care or responsibility for other people. Well, God bless you. God bless the people of Israel and of Ukraine and of Iran. And let's just say, dear God, please bless the entire world. We need it. God bless you. And God bless America. Hey.